guys, Jackie again. So today I was watching more of PLL Season 3 and I started thinking about Mr. Wren Kingston. And I mean, just something about Wren that's always rubbed me the wrong way. I used to think that he was A, and so I decided that I was going to start a Wren theory. And I gathered a bunch of clues. It took me about 2 hours to find all the stuff I'm about to tell you, so devoted a lot of my time to thinking about this. And I decided to come up with a really rough theory that Wren is Charles / Big A, and he is dating Bethany / Uber A. Because I really think now that perhaps Charles is Big A, but he's not Uber A, and the girls are going to go off to college in the middle of Season 6 thinking the game is over and that they're safe. When they come back, they're going to find out there's another A, an Uber A. And Marlene kind of alluded to that in one of her interviews about possibly there being a Uber A. So that's one of my theories right now about Charles. Look, I'm really not sure who Charles is. There are just so many pieces to this puzzle that it's really hard to make them fit together. But this is one of my theories, and I just worked so hard on trying to come up with this, so I decided might as well make a video and share it with you guys and just see what you think. There's still parts of it that I'm not entirely sure on, so I'm going to work on those some more. But right now, here are all the clues that I put together about why Wren is so shady, why he could possibly be A, and how he could possibly be connected to Bethany. In my case, I think they might be dating. And this does go with my Bethany is Uber A and Toby's twin theory, as a lot of my theories do, because, you know, that's my favorite theory, and I really am trying to make the pieces fit together with that. And yeah, so here are all the things about Wren that point to him possibly being A. Now, Wren does have a drawing of a family at the stables. There's the mom, the dad, the daughter, and the son, and the mom is wearing a red coat. Wren is coloring the coat in red. And they're at stables with horses. And I mean, I really do think that if there are twins on this show, like everyone is saying, they're fraternal twins due to the fact that the families we see are often mother, father, son, and daughter, like the mannequins in A's vault or the people in this drawing of Wren's. And so possibly the mother is Marion, the father is Daniel, the son is Toby, and the daughter is Bethany. Or perhaps if there's some whole other side story about how Daniel Kavanaugh is not Toby and Bethany's father, it's whoever their biological father is. That's not important. You know, I mean, I think it's a possibility that maybe Daniel's not their father due to the fact that he seems to be very absent from Toby's life, but that's not really important and isn't relevant to this theory. So I just feel like that is Bethany's family, and maybe either he drew it or Bethany drew it and he's simply coloring it in, because you just see him coloring in the coat red. So I think that can point to a possible Wren-Bethany connection. And I really wonder if Wren is not actually a doctor, because on the police board that we see in Season 4, I think, he's referred to as Dr. Kingston, with air quotes. And he can't spell diagnosis, as we see when he's in Radley talking to Mona. He forgets the G in diagnosis. Now, a doctor would know how to spell diagnosis because they'd write it all the time. So perhaps Wren is not actually a doctor, and that's just a ploy as part of his and Bethany's revenge plot. And I just think that's so suspicious. There's also a repeated bird references and motifs, like, you know, Tibby the bird, things like that. A wren is in fact a bird, so that is definitely a very interesting thing to note. There's all these birds on the show. And I always thought there's a possibility that Wren could be Beach Hottie. I don't know why the girls didn't ask Allison when she came back who Beach Hottie was, but, you know, TV logic. I mean, that would be one of my first questions if I was in the girls' shoes. But they do lots of things that are stupid, so, you know. And perhaps, you know, that kind of mutual hatred for Allison brought Wren and Bethany together. But, you know, actually, I kind of feel like whereas Uber A hates Allison, Charles is more obsessed with her. Like the whole "you're my favorite" thing and giving Mona as Allison the gas mask. I kind of feel like Charles, whoever he may be, he's more obsessed with Allison, whereas Uber A just full-on hates her. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And, Wren does have a thing for younger girls. He was involved with Spencer and Hannah, so it would not be a stretch to say he could have been involved with Allison and Bethany, who are both also younger than he is. And him jumping from Spencer to Hannah is suspicious in itself, almost like he was kind of using them for information. Like when he was done romancing Spencer, he saw an opening with Hannah and he took it. That's kind of suspicious, and I'm sorry, I keep brushing my bangs out of my face, but they keep bothering me. So sorry, I'll try to stop doing it. Okay, so there's also the A text, Mona played with dolls, I play with body parts. A doctor plays with body parts. I know lots of Wren's A theories mention that, but just throwing it in there because, it's evidence. And this is actually kind of what triggered this original theory today. When Spencer gets locked in the shower, and a message says, steamy with Wren, steamy with me. To me, that almost sounds kind of like a jealous girlfriend, something a jealous girlfriend would say. And that's kind of why I was thinking that Wren and Bethany could be dating, or have dated, or have some kind of romantic connection. And perhaps Bethany was upset that Spencer was getting close to Wren, that's why she decided she was going to do that. To me, it sounded like something a jealous girlfriend would do. Like if someone, made a move on her man, if you know what I'm saying. And in the books, Allison, when she is A, she does have her boyfriend helping her. I think his name is Nick in the books, right? I didn't read the books, so sorry. I just know what happens from them from the internet. So it could have been a reference to what happened in the books, because I know sometimes they like to include things that are kind of like they were in the books, but different, because the show and the books are so different. So I feel like that could also be kind of some support. Now, something between Mona and Wren definitely transpired, but we have no idea what it was, because when Mona is in Radley, she makes a comment to Wren, something about, now I know where your loyalties lie. So Wren did something to her that broke Mona's trust in him. What that was, I have no idea, but there's definitely something suspicious going on there. What did Wren do to her? Why does she hate Wren now? Another person who has problems with Wren is Eddie Lamb, the orderly from Radley Sanitarium. There's obvious tension between them if you watch the end of season 3. Eddie implies that Wren is the one who was messing with the visitors' passes, and perhaps Eddie turned him in and almost got Wren in trouble. So why was Wren, if it's true, why was he messing with the visitors' passes? Why was he helping Mona get in and out? Why was he helping A-team members get in? That kind of implies that he has a connection to the A-team. And Eddie makes a comment about Wren being at Radley for the wrong reasons. And Wren gets Spencer to question Eddie's credibility by linking Eddie to Mona and saying that Eddie and Mona used to play board games together, almost like he wants Spencer to not believe what Eddie tells her about him. And Eddie did know something about Bethany that he said he wasn't allowed to talk about. Now, was Wren trying to shut Eddie up because he knew something that was going to get in the way of his and Bethany's plan? Eddie did leave Radley before he could talk, very suspiciously. We really don't know why he up and disappeared. Is he even alive? Could someone have killed Eddie? We don't know. It has not been talked about since the beginning of season 5, but he did leave under mysterious circumstances before he could spill his guts. And I've mentioned this before, Eddie did recognize Aria when he came to Radley, and I do think perhaps that means Eddie saw Allison come to Radley as Vivian. So perhaps that could tie into what he knows. Because, Duncan, when he saw Aria from behind in the red coat, he thought she was Vivian too. So perhaps Eddie knows a lot of stuff and Wren doesn't want him telling. Whether he's protecting Bethany, Allison even, both of them, I feel like Charles could definitely be obsessed with Allison. And so I think that's really interesting things to note. I feel like there's got to be some more stuff going on between Wren with Eddie and Wren with Mona. What he did to them, we don't exactly know, but it's very suspicious. And I know some of you guys have pointed this out to me. I've seen it on Tumblr a bunch of times. The Love Thy Neighbor sign was in Wren's house in Season 2, Episode 21. It was also in A's dollhouse. Now, that is a biblical reference, and I do believe the name Bethany is a biblical reference. Just something to point out there. I don't know if this specific quote in particular means something. It's love thy neighbor as thyself. Is that a hint towards Wren's motives? Is he doing this for Bethany? I don't know if that quote means something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a repeated thing. You see it in Wren's house and A's dollhouse, and it's a biblical reference just like Bethany is. So I feel like that could have some kind of meaning, some kind of hint towards Wren-Bethany relationship scheming. I don't know exactly, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like love thy neighbor could kind of be like, he's doing this out of love for somebody else. Does that make sense? I don't know. It makes sense in my head. I'm having a hard time voicing it. So, I'm sorry if you guys are confused, but, you know. I was wondering if perhaps Wren threw the prom in the dollhouse as a gift for Bethany, because Bethany obviously did not get to go to her prom if she's been in Radley for such a long time. And perhaps since, you know, Wren and Melissa were engaged, and this is the same theme as Melissa's prom when she was prom queen. So perhaps Wren heard Melissa talk all about how great her prom was, and so he kind of wanted to emulate that to give Bethany a great prom that she missed out on. So that could be why the prom had the same theme as Melissa's prom. Doesn't mean that Wren necessarily had to be there, but perhaps because he heard about it so much, that's why it's so much like that prom. Okay, and I was starting to wonder, why Charles? Where does Charles come into play? Now I know I mentioned before that perhaps Charles was Marianne Cavanaugh's maiden name, Jessica DeLarge's maiden name, so maybe that's why, but then I started looking into also British kings, because, you know, obviously Wren is British. So there are two kings of England named Charles, Charles I and Charles II. And I did a little history lesson, which was kind of fun. Actually, I love history. And I just wrote down some interesting things about both of these whatever the plural of Charles is. Charleses? That sounds weird. Okay, so Charles I. Now, Charles I was executed after the English Civil War. He was beheaded. He believed strongly in the divine right of kings, which means that kings have absolute power that is derived from God. That is what Charles I believed in. And he married a Catholic woman, Henrietta. Yes, Henrietta. Which caused a lot of tension and distrust, because ever since Bloody Mary, they didn't have Catholics on the throne. But then James I came in after Elizabeth I died, and he was from Scotland, and he was Catholic. But there was distrust of Catholics in England because everyone was Protestant. I think they could actually execute people for being Catholics. So as a heretic? Yeah, I think they could. Didn't write that down, just, yeah. So, anyway, since she was a Catholic, there was a lot of distrust for her, and it caused a lot of tension. People didn't like that he married a Catholic woman because they were a Protestant country. Initially, the king and queen had a bad relationship. It was very rocky, but she went on to become his closest friend and advisor. And Wren does make a reference to hanging, drawing, and quartering, which it was a very gruesome method of execution for people who committed high treason in England. For men, basically, they would drag you through the streets. They'd hang you until you were almost dead. Then they would emasculate you, disembowel you, behead you, and then after you were dead, they would cut you up into 4 pieces. It was a terrible way to die. It was what they did to people who committed high treason. And according to Wikipedia, several of the regicides involved in the execution of Charles I were subjected to drawing and quartering, which Wren references, I think, to Hannah in season 3. He makes a comment about hanging, drawing, and quartering. And so that I wrote down. Then Charles II, who is Charles I's son. Yes. What I found really interesting about Charles wasn't him himself, but his wife. He was married to Catherine of Braganza. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in Spencer and Mona's quiz-off to get on the decathlon team in season 3, they mentioned Catherine of Braganza. Because I have a recollection, Mona answers, oh, Catherine of Aragon, and Spencer's like, no, Catherine of Braganza. I remember that, actually. It's weird. I'm like history buff, so I remember stupid things like that. But anyway, so she did get name dropped, I think. She was also very unpopular with the people. Her servants were blamed for the murder of Sir Edmund Barry, which is kind of an A-like thing, because I really believe that A has minions who they get to do their dirty work for them, like an Uber A and a Big A, like I was saying. And Titus Oates accused her of planning to poison the king, Charles II. And her husband and her did not have a good relationship. He cheated on her a lot, and he had lots of mistresses, and he had many illegitimate children. 12 of them, I believe Wikipedia said. 12 illegitimate children, because she couldn't have a child. So I feel like perhaps if Wren was beach hottie and he's obsessed with Allison while he's dating Bethany, that's kind of like a similar thing, if you know what I'm saying. So I thought those were some interesting things about the two Charleses who were kings of Great Britain. And like I said, it could mean something else. My mom and I did toy on the idea of Charles being Marion and Jessica's maiden name, because we have no idea what their maiden name was. So that's also a possibility, but I'm just throwing those things out there because when I was thinking of Wren as Charles, that's the first thing I thought about, where he could have possibly gotten the name Charles from, if he's really going by Charles. You know, we don't even know, because the only reason we got the name Charles is because Spencer dreamt it. Like, you know, call me crazy for not believing what comes to Spencer in a dream. Like, alright, and if you believe Marlene, we have met Charles before. She says he's a character we already know. And I believe she said the actor doesn't even know that he is Charles yet. He has no idea. So I feel like if Charles is someone we know, Wren is a really good candidate, because he's always been so shady and sketchy. And I've always kind of wondered why Wren is a character that keeps showing up, because it seems like he should be someone who's not important and not connected at all. So perhaps he actually does have a deeper connection than we realize, and that's why he shows up in the show so much. Marlene did caption one of her Instagram pictures, "An apple a day does not keep A away," and that is an old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. That could possibly point to Wren, and I'm going to link to that in the description. I'm going to put a couple links in the description, like Wren's drawing, the Instagram post, other stuff, so that's in the caption if you want to go click on those things. Now, there are some more things I need to think about. I really want to think about, if this is true, who is that boy in that video? Did Wren grow up in Rosewood, then move to England, and then come back? Does his family have a connection to the De Laurentises? His dad was mentally ill. I believe Wren says to Hannah something along the lines of, you know, you can't understand mental illness. I spent my whole life trying. Sidebar, perhaps instead of meaning his father by that, he also meant Bethany as well, because Bethany has mental illness, he's been spending time trying to understand her, if they are in a relationship. Perhaps Bethany's mental illness is kind of something that's hard for him to deal with, and he loves her, but at the same time, it's hard for him to love someone who is crazy and not in her right mind, and perhaps that also plays into his Allison obsession, if that's true. I know a theory that PLL Freaks 13, if you watch their videos they've mentioned before, is Dr. Palmer, Wren's father. That could be an interesting twist and points to a deeper connection between Wren's family, Marion Cavanaugh, Jessica De Laurentiis. So I don't know if maybe there's a deeper history between them. That's a possibility, and you know, Dr. Palmer is British and he has some kind of dementia or mental problem. And I believe Wren mentioned that his father doesn't remember who he is sometimes when he goes to see him. So that was a theory I kind of doubted before, but now I'm kind of wondering if maybe they could be right. But like I said, this whole video thing is still really hard for me to understand, because, you know, we don't really know a lot of stuff, so it's hard to make a sound theory when there's so many unknowns. But anyway, this is just what I was thinking for now. I thought of this today, threw it together in about 2 hours, and I just really wanted to make a video about it after all that hard work. So, just some things to think about. I'm trying to come up with as many possibilities for who Charles could be as possible, because it's really hard to make a sound theory, like I said, when you know so little. So that's just an interesting thing I was thinking about. I always thought Wren was sketchy, which is why I decided to make this theory. And just tell me what you think. Anything you want to add, anything that doesn't make sense, if you're confused or anything, just comment below, like, favorite, subscribe, you know, just do your thing, and tell me what you think. Alright, thanks guys. I'm going to post some more theories for you soon, different possibilities of who Charles could be, lots of different things, so keep an eye out for those. We'll get through this hiatus together, guys. I'm already going crazy. It just helps so much people to make videos. Alright, thank you guys so much. Bye!